Ladies and gentlemen, this is the Dental Up Podcast, brought to you by Keating Dental Arts, a full-service, award-winning dental laboratory. Each week, you'll learn tips and techniques from real-world dentists, bringing you in-depth interviews, motivating stories, current events, and sports. Here's your host, Sean Keating.
Hey everybody, Sean here. Welcome to another episode of the Dental Up Podcast. My guest this week has published over 40 original articles and abstracts in peer-reviewed journals. He's an active member of the AAED, and he has lectured in every major meeting in the United States and around the world. Practicing from Middlebury, Connecticut, please welcome Dr. John Kanca, DMD. How's it going, Kanca Bond?
Pretty good, Sean. How are you doing?
Oh man, I'm doing so great. I'm glad you got out of that last patient, dude. We're running a little bit late, but that's good. You got a patient in the chair. What was it? Was it one of my crowns not fitting, or was it just what was going on today?
Well, no, it was a relative, and you know how relatives work.
Oh yeah,
things always go long and go more difficult than it ought to have.
Well, that's so cool, man. Well, thank you so much. Hopefully that restoration, I'm sure it'll be coming to us soon, huh?
Yes, it will.
Yeah, that's so cool, dude. Well, man, hey, thank you for coming on again. I know I just called you and I just was saying, hey, dude, let's do another one. We could talk about a few things we got working on right now. And you were very nice to say, well, Sean, sure enough, let's do this. And so thank you so much. But, I like to start off a little bit talking about sports, man. You watching any of that basketball game last night with the freaking Rockets against Golden State? It was the start of the Western Conference Championship. And man, they were smash mouth that first few minutes. That Damon Green went and put an elbow into Harding on the it was like 60 seconds. He already had a tee, and it was like, man, this is great. This is a great game, but freaking hey, man, it was like first half it tied up going in, and then the second half, the third quarter, Golden State just took over, and then they ended up winning by like 13, 16 points, but I don't know. I don't think they've got the answer for Golden State. Even with Chris Paul, they stole from the Clippers, man. But did you watch any of that game last night or no?
I didn't catch it last night. Are you a big Golden State fan? Or
no, not really, dude. I mean, it's Golden State. We're from California. But they've been the real deal for the last 4 years. I mean, this is their fourth finals they're going to try to appear in, and they won 2 of the last 3, but it's just crazy. It's just like Golden State against the Cavaliers for the last 4 years almost, and I think LeBron's been in the final like 5 or 6. Just crazy. Yeah. I'd like to
do you have a favorite?
Yeah, Lakers. I'm a Lakers diehard forever, from the 70s. I grew up with them, and it's been a lull with us for the last several years, but I'm not actively going to any of the games. It just doesn't excite me, but I'm a big, I'm my dad and everything's from Boston, so believe it or not, I like those Celtics too. I just love the fans of Boston's. Those Bostonians are real passionate, but dang, that coach they got, that dude was from, I think, Butler or something. What a difference. I mean, they don't even have the 2 key guys, Kyrie Irving, and the other one they just traded, got hurt the first game, I think. But all these other guys are just stepping up, and I think it's that Butler coach, dude. That guy, I don't even know his name offhand, but what a great coach. You've been watching the Celtics at all a little bit?
A little bit. As you have mentioned about going back to the 70s, I'm sort of a Knicks fan, going back from the 70s.
Absolutely.
I mean, I thought for me the apex of, if you will, of basketball was the 73 Knicks.
Yep, I remember that. I remember it was like Lakers, and it was the Knickerbockers you used to call them back then. Remember that? New York Knickerbockers.
Yeah. And you had Willis Reed, David DeBusschere, Cassie Russell, Earl the Pearl. You had and Bradley. I mean, it was a magic team. That was my height of interest, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Although I did get interested with Bird and Magic, but that was for me. That was the game. That was the year.
Yeah. Well, 73. I wasn't that old, but it was the start of it. Just the rivalries of like the New York and even with Boston and the Lakers, and remember with the Detroit Pistons with Bill Laimbeer and those guys, and that was some fun times too. And for Detroit to get a little bit of love out there. You know, they could use it for sure. But yeah, it was good times back then. But now it just seems like a 1 or 2 horse race every year with lately. But and it's kind of boring too. This guy just sit back there and drain threes, man. It's like I like the old days with the big men in the middle, you know, and all in the paint, you know, and just beating up each other. Like even with Shaq and, you know, Duncan and some of the big boys, you know, more recent years. But yeah, it's a different game now. You know, you got these smaller teams coming out, you know, different, you know, setups where it's the shooters, man. It's the finesse and the shooting. It's kind of, well, you know, it's changing a little bit, kind of, but.
Yeah, I hear that. And it's the same for me, but I really get into it when it's the college competitions. Then on March,
yeah,
that's when I start to really, you know, get interested in that. Because I don't know, for what better or worse, it just seems to me that the college game is a little more pure.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I find a little more interest in that.
Absolutely, no. They're running, they're hustling, they're playing for the love of it, man. They got no money, they got no lunch money, nothing. They gotta get out there and prove it, baby. And that's really where you see, you know, the Cinderella stories too. Again, some of your Kentuckys and some of your other elite schools, you know, are always in the big dance, it seems like. But it was kind of cool to see Kentucky out of it this year. But yeah, I love it. How'd you do on the March Madness pool that we did? You do any good?
No, of course not, because I'm not very good at that. I don't pay close enough attention, but I kind of went down in flames pretty quick.
Oh, I know, man. It's so crazy. I could pick that thing 100 times and still not even get, you know, in the top 10 probably, but that's crazy. But what about the ponies, man? I got the damn horse on last weekend, the Kentucky Derby, man. At Justified, man. I bet on that thing and it freaking came through, baby.
Boy, did it ever. I mean, I want to tell you, that was really an interesting race, because I mean that horse was favorite,
yeah,
but there wasn't any doubt about that.
No, and it was storming and it was delayed and I'm like, what the heck, man, this is taking forever. And you know, me and my wife were actually, you know, I went down there and there's a little place by my house, a little pub that you can actually bet on horse wagers, you know. And so I went down in the morning and just, what the heck, you know, put a couple grand on it. I just felt really good on it. And I came back and Shannon goes, "What'd you do?" She goes, "Sean, you said you're not betting on these ponies." I go, "Honey, this one, I feel it, man. The last race I bet against them and I bet Bolt d'Oro and this horse beat Bolt d'Oro. I said, I'm never betting on that Bolt horse again." But so this time I bet on Justify. I thought I'd just throw a couple grand on it. Son of a gun. I didn't even know because I'm so stupid when it comes to numbers, you know. I don't know. It was 5 to 9 or whatever it was. I couldn't tell.
It was 5 to 2, and as I recall, the picture you sent me, I think you bet $500, two 250 bets, and you came back with $2,000.
No, it was 4 bets at $250 each because that's the max.
Okay, you sent me a picture of 2, but okay.
Yeah, so 2 tickets I got at $1,000 each. So there's 4 bets at $250 each. So when I turned them in, like 3 days later, I go buy it. I knew I won, but I thought it was like a couple grand. God, they won. Each ticket won $3,900. So when I cashed them out, it was like $7,800, and
Holy
I bet
mackerel.
$2,000. So it was like $5,800. It's like so stupid. Forgive me, Lord, for betting.
Well, we should all be that we should all be that stupid.
Yeah, to bet two. I mean, who's stupid enough to bet $2,000? It's kind of crazy, but it's just, man, $5,800. So now the darn horse, I just checked the odds, you know. So now you got to bet $200 to win $100. I mean, it's so much the favorite. So it's kind of stupid. You bet $2,000 to win $1,000, but I bet you get even less. Like the most odds, I think for 100, you win $10 or something. And it's like, it's not even worth the bet it then, because it's,
why would you do that?
Yeah, it's stupid. And I almost have a few times when the lady there, she goes, "Sir, you know, you're only going to win $10 off that. It's you know, whatever it is." And I'm like, okay, you're probably right. But there's another horse pretty good called Good Magic, came in second in the Kentucky Derby, and that kind of horse, I mean, you bet $1, I think you win $450 or something, or maybe it's 100 to win $450. But I just don't think. I think that Justify, he's kind of a freak. He looks really, really good, man. So yeah, that's unbelievable. So, dude, let's dental up, man. I can't thank you enough, and I just know how smart you are and everything else. And you know, I just want to start off and let everyone know you're like one of the founding fathers of the AACD, And what was it like in the early days of that group, in the AACD? We just had the meeting here a couple days ago, or about a couple weeks ago. And so it comes around annually and stuff. I didn't make it to it. They wanted me to go, but I didn't go to it. But yeah, we got several doctors that, are actively in the AACD that still send us work and all that good stuff. But tell me a little bit about what it was like in the early days of the group, if you could.
Well, I can actually still remember the founding meeting. It was December 7th, 1984.
Oh, you're kidding. That's the start of my career, dude. That's when I started in November of 84. But yeah, that's a trip.
And there were 64 of us. It was led by Jeff Morley and Jack Kammer. And they were the essential two in that meeting who were looking to found the group. But there were 62 others of us who were part of that, including Norman Feigenbaum and a number of others. And it was really interesting in the beginning. We spent a great deal of time and our own money getting together and hammering out things like bylaws and rules and accreditation. And it's interesting to look back now and see what this has become from that single day. Initially, the meetings were a bit of a struggle to get attendance through the mid 80s, but things started to happen in the 90s, and then it kind of started to take off. So it is kind of like watching one of your children grow up and become an adult to some extent.
Unbelievable. So what was the vision for AACD way back in the day?
We wanted to have a platform for the sort of average dentist to try to better him or herself, and make a program, an accreditation program that wasn't too difficult, that wasn't an impossibility, and it wasn't for discriminate against the so-called lesser among us. I'm a little concerned about that now. You watch some of it, but it was supposed to be reachable for people, and I'm kind of seeing it become a little bit elitist. And then that kind of wasn't what we had in mind in the beginning. We did want people to be able to achieve this on a fairly widespread level, as long as they were going to put the time and effort into it. So it was, that was our goal in the beginning anyway.
Yeah. Well, it's tough. I know that. I know we're trying to get a couple of the techs, going through the system, and there's a lot to it, man. They ask a lot of it, and it takes some time for sure. And for both the dentist and the lab partner. And, but it's something that's out there for, it's just, it's a tough thing to get in and to get accredited. I know that. I couldn't imagine. I can only imagine how tough it is from the dentist standpoint, and, what you have to put into it. But, hey, to think that you were the start of it, and, you practice some of the best dentistry we see here. I mean, it's just, it's an amazing thing on what you learn there, but there's a lot of guys that go through a lot of CE and stuff. They still don't have the hands of Dr. Kanca. It's like, it's just crazy.
It's that's nice. But it's, like I said, we did want to have something that, people could on a fairly widespread basis achieve and join and make themselves as good as they could possibly be. I guess you can't ever have something that is going to be achievable by everybody, but we did our best to try to at least give them something. My big concern always was the fear of it becoming political, and it kind of had those moments in the late 90s, and it was a little disappointing, and it kind of led to some of us not participating as much as we once did. But that's kind of a danger in organizations as a whole. It's sort of, one of the, if you ever have gone to a planning and zoning commission or an inland wetlands, you see what happens when people who don't normally have a lot of authority suddenly have authority. And, I've always been very careful to tell and warn people to say, part of your character is put on display when you have authority, when you are the guy in charge. And how you wield that power is an indicator of what you're made of. If you use it to become overbearing and strident, then that says something about you. And I always told the incoming presidents, at least from my perspective, that this organization isn't about them, and it wasn't about me. It was about all those people who were in the audience and who came to those meetings. And none of us was going to change the organization per se, but we were custodians of it for a year and just try to make it a little bit better than it was when we joined it. And that was always my outlook on this thing. Obviously social media has changed everything, and it does occupy a great deal of people's days, and that's some good and some bad. It's allowed me to stay in contact with people I have not seen in a long time, and then daily contact with some of your better friends. But it can work adversely too, because it absorbs people and they kind of start missing out on reality. But hey, that's that's here, and we have to work with that.
And I think it's almost, maybe it's a good thing in a way. I mean, it kind of stirred up all the people and just all the younger people that never really were involved in elections and everything. I guarantee you the next presidential election will probably have the highest voter turnout in the history, because it's everyone's got an opinion now, and it's a good thing in a way, but yet it's just, hey, if you want change, get out there and vote. Get out there and, get involved in your city and everything else if you really want to try to make a difference instead of just sitting back there belly aching about it. But get out there and vote, and get out there and, promote people you want to put into office and stuff like that. But just don't sit back and, expect everything to be peachy dory without any input. So, but I don't know. Yeah. Okay. What else can we talk about? Let's talk about, as an educator in our field, what is the one thing young dentists should focus on when choosing like their CE path? I know you've done so much CE yourself and given so much CE, but some of our younger dentists, what are some of the focuses which they should be looking on when they're thinking about their CE?
I think two things, well, maybe three, but two of them are directly related. Well, they're all related. I think materials, to have a good handle on materials, the things you're using. One of the, when I'm participating in the various parts of, Dental Town or Facebook or something, when I ask somebody what they're using and I get an answer, something like, well, it's in a yellow bottle.
Exactly.
And I have to tell you, I'm a little frustrated with that, especially if they're having difficulties and, so how are you using it? Well, like the instructions say, and that's, of course, that's not true either, but those kinds of things. I think whatever you're using, I think you're obligated to know what materials you're using and how you're using them. So I think materials, just from the standpoint of you don't have to know about pouring stone and all that, but you need to have a handle on the kinds of materials you're using. Then you need to know how to use them. So, and then there becomes some basic operative dentistry. I mean, because everybody's a little green coming out. So knowing good handle on operative dentistry, restorative dentistry, the materials, and then the other thing they should get into really early is occlusion, because that's a very, very huge part of your practice, no matter who you are. Not that you can do full reconstructions on every patient, because nobody's going to be able, well, almost nobody is going to be able to do that. But if you have a handle on what is happening, the kind of things that are happening and how occlusion relates, and some fundamental grasp of the concepts behind it, then I think you're going to be much better off. So I think those are the three areas that won't cost you a fortune, but are well worth investing in.
Well, where on occlusion, who like Pankey? Is it Dawson? Is it what kind of course?
You can't go wrong. I don't think you can go wrong with either of those. But two of my favorite guys would be Lane Ochi and Michael Melkers.
Oh, you're kidding! I think those guys will give you
the most bang for your buck that you could possibly get.
I had Milkers here several years back in my lab, and he gave an all-day thing on occlusion, dude. And I swear to God, I'm just a lowly dental technician, but I lasted about 20 minutes in there, and I was like falling asleep. That's the boringest crap I've ever listened to. But again, I'm just a freaking dental tech that, but yeah, Milkers. I mean, he probably pulled from different people through what he learned, but it's something, that to say that. And then the Ochi dude, he's right here in LA, right?
Yes, he is.
Lane's a stud. He's a man. I've never done any work with him, but he's a really knowledgeable little dude, and he knows the stuff. He likes fast cars too. So I like Lane, man.
Yeah, he's a good man.
And
I've watched Michael evolve over the last 15, 18, whatever it is, years.
Yeah.
And he's become a very, very knowledgeable guy as well. And Lane is one of his mentors.
So tell me about some of your scientific involvement with Ultradent, Bisco, and Apex Dental Materials. You're the man when it comes to these, but tell me a little bit about your involvement with these companies.
In the late 80s, I championed a very, at the time, unpopular position, and that was putting phosphoric acid on dentin, and came out very bluntly and said, you can do this, and started doing it, and published a few articles along the way. But I had created the first 4th generation system, which is a phosphoric acid etching of dentin and enamel, a primer, and then a bonding resin. And I put together a number of ingredients to make that work. And it worked very, very well. And then I shopped it around to 3M as a concept, and I shopped it to Kerr as a concept, and nobody had any interest. And then I was introduced by Norman Feigenbaum to the president of Bisco, who was hesitant, but at least willing to engage in it. And that is the product that became Allbond.
No kidding.
And then it became Allbond 2. And so I created Allbond. I created Allbond 2. I helped co-create One Step. Scott Lamrand and I created Elite Flow. I mean, we created a lot of products for Bisco.
Okay.
Yeah, I got a little frustrated because, to be candid, I didn't feel I was being treated commensurate with what I was creating for them.
Mm-hmm.
And so there was a parting of the ways in 82. And then I had known Scott and Chris, Scott Lamrand and Chris Kelton, who actually were Apex since 1987. And I called them up and said, do you want to make something for me? Because I had another concept in my mind and have had several since. And they said, sure. So I became partners with them. And we ended up creating at first Simplicity, then we've created Surpass, then we have created Superb, and we have a whole stall of products at this point.
Anchor also. Don't forget Anchor.
Oh, yes. Yes, we have Anchor. We have Injectafill. I mean, our newer one is Bond Saver, which is a pretty awesome product. Because that's a desensitizer, it's a collagen stiffener, it's a product that prevents bond degradation, and so it's got a proprietary ingredient in it, and in my opinion, it belongs on every single crown preparation anybody ever cuts.
Now, is it like seal all the tubules and stuff like that, or what?
Yeah, I mean, it's an obtundant. It doesn't really seal them because it's just a liquid. It's not a polymer.
Okay.
But what it does is desensitize enormously well.
That's
and
awesome.
It is pretty potent antimicrobial, and like I said, has an ingredient in it that will prevent bond degradation. So when people, and I've just seen on Facebook and getting feedback, they put it on crown preparations the day they're cut, and they really don't have any sensitivity consequently at all. So
that should be put on every damn prep that's receiving a restoration, man, because I know even just some recent ones, the crowns I had, you get a little sensitivity for a while, but I'd like to have that put on it. It's just, it's important. That's amazing.
Yeah, so it really does work very, very well. And, and then I did some consulting for Ultradent in the mid 2000s for a little while. I no longer do that, although Dan Fisher and I are great friends.
Yeah,
But
I was going to say Dan
I
Fisher, because every time I've been with you, and I've met him a few times through you, and you guys are like buds. And Dan's a man. I mean, he's an older dude, and he's still kicking it hard right now, isn't he? He's like, that's amazing.
yeah, he's a terrific guy. He's just a terrific guy, very, very good hearted. And I love his expression. And one of his favorite expressions is, he says, "I plan to live to be 150 years old, and I plan to be sexually active the whole time."
Yeah, Dan the man. That's a
And
great.
you just gotta love that.
Yeah, hey, you got to have faith, and maybe he will. I mean, wasn't it one Abraham had a baby at 100 years old? I mean, things can happen. I don't know if it's
Yeah, and there's
Abraham.
apparently something in Boston that's being done to reverse aging. So who knows? Maybe we'll all get lucky.
Yeah, that's what I'm hoping. Like at 20 years, and I can like pay a couple $1,000,000 for some new lungs, or maybe it's like a new. Yeah, you got the money, you can go and get yourself.
So,
Yeah.
so I know that we'll both be very interested in a couple of things. There's a pill called NAD, and that's the one coming out of Boston that's alleged to reverse aging. And now here's the really good news: is that it came out of Salk Institute that cannabinoids that can be used to reverse Alzheimer's plaques in the brains.
You're kidding.
Now, how good is that news?
What's is that weed or is that
That's right, THC.
THC? Well, we know where to get that here in California.
So I just sent around an email to all my friends saying I'm all about prevention.
Yeah, heck yeah. What's the name of that pill? I want one. How much is it? I want the NCD or whatever it's called. That's amazing. Yeah, that's all my wife.
So
that's my wife.
That's kind of
yeah.
I thought that was kind of fun information to have.
I love that. Gives us hope, baby. There's hope out there.
Not only can you live forever, you're going to enjoy it all the way.
Yeah. Shannon ain't going to like me chasing around the house, man. She's like, what the hell? You ain't 20 anymore.
I'll maybe give her a little of that too.
Yeah,
and who knows?
Yeah. She's going to need some of that. That's funny. Well, dude, you're prescribing a lot of our KDZ Bruxer aesthetic restorations lately. I mean, really, and you're doing some things we can talk a little bit about. But kind of walk me through your delivery protocol and sequence of materials for cementation on some of my Bruxer products, if you could.
Sure. I think it's for me, it's pretty simple. We just, a day of delivery, we just sandblast the inside of the crown, 50 micron aluminum oxide, and just dry it. And then delivery on the tooth is bond saver with the regular bond saver, not the bond saver D, but regular bond saver. And then we cement them with resin modified glass ionomer. And that's it.
No kidding.
They do not come off.
That's amazing. You're doing some testing on that materials too. We got our manufacturer getting that. What are you going to do? I don't even know what you're doing, man. You just said, Sean, I need 50 of these, and so I put you in through with our manufacturer. And so, what are we doing? We're going to do yield strength or tensile strength.
Yeah, we're going to do a modified shear bond strength, but I mean we're looking at possible primers for zirconia. I'm not. To be honest with you, I'm not real optimistic about it because bonding to zirconia is kind of a real difficult thing, and it's a low yield effort at room temperature or at clinical temperatures. But we're going to give it a shot anyway and see what we can come up with. But I do know at this point that you certainly can cement these things, and in my opinion, at the moment, that is how they should be delivered. Because people putting them on with resin cements are experiencing an untoward number of dis-cemented crowns, and nobody really needs that. Okay. So, my advice is very strong, and that is just to cement the crowns, sandblast them, and cement them.
No kidding. Now, what about
both for the Bruxers and the Bruxer aesthetics?
No kidding. You see a big difference in that Bruxer aesthetic, don't you? And that's neat stuff.
That's really coming along very nicely. I've watched it evolve. I've watched your products evolve and get better and better and better. And yeah, it's really coming along very nicely to where I have confidence in putting the Bruxer aesthetics in the interiors as well.
Yeah, they're just in the Ore environment, man. They're blending in nicely, man. We're just so thankful on how this has turned out. And man, it's even, our doctors are happy with our pricing and staying, around, the $100 mark. It's just amazing that we can do that and to get this kind of aesthetics and the strength, man. That's what's just, I'm loving, man. I remember those days and, just a little bit of breakage here and there. And it's like, man, you got to become a, metallurgist. You got to make sure, you're not burning out your trace elements when you're, casting the alloys, because you're going to burn out that oxide layer. And it's so important on all the little steps to get it to where, hey, you're not going to get a pop or a flick. And now we got this stuff like the Dick Butkus test, man. Bite on a rock with those Bruxers, man. But it's been a godsend for us for sure that this material, it's so neat and it's getting more and more predictable, and it's a neat thing. Now, what about you? You getting invested? I know you're not a CEREC guy or anything, but you thinking about maybe getting into impression taking, maybe a scanner or something, or what are you thinking, or what do you like out there for new toys and anything to add to that practice? Cone beam stuff, if your implants, or what kind of advice you got out there on some of the new things that you think are pretty neat?
Well, it may not be real popular a position, but I think that, given the exorbitant expense that especially younger dentists are paying and the debt they're coming out of schools with, I would be very cautious about getting into some of these other things that are just wicked expensive.
Yeah.
Whether it's, especially some of the CAD CAM machines, it's not just the initial investment, but there's there's an upgrade once or twice a year, and it's in the tens of thousands of dollars.
Yeah.
You have to go to have education. You have to, not only it's like you have to buy the expensive car, and then you have to pay several $1,000s for somebody to teach you how to drive the car.
Yeah. And then I have that like Ferrari warranty of $10,000-$12,000 a year, like on my printers. I got to do that just to cover my ass, but I got to. Yeah. That's like $1,000 a month just to cover that light bulb. That's $15,000 if it goes out or whatever it is. It's just nuts. I mean, it really is.
So I am reluctant, and unless you're, if you're in a big group practice, I think you could do something like that feasibly, as you could with, say, a cone beam, and again, maybe somebody's practice is doing, lights out and they can afford that, but I think a lot of people can't. Yeah. And if you need some of the cone beam, I don't mind referring it out to some, friends of mine who's an endodontist or, oral surgeon's place, and say, here, get me a cone beam of this. And I'm happy with that. I'm good. I don't mind that.
Absolutely.
Because I don't need, if it's something you're not going to use every single day, and these toys, they're hammers too. Yep. They tend to be hammers. So if you, once you buy the hammer, it's the gold-plated hammer. Well, by golly, we're going to use it. Yep. And so, everybody starts getting these things, and that's another. All of them become the nail. And so I'm, again, reluctant with that, but especially, for younger dentists, I think, just a lot of this is just, you're just better off just referring the stuff out, have someone else who has one's already spent the money, let them take care of that. And, just, save your money, pay off your bills and stuff. Pay
off your bills and get in the trenches and do it like you, man. You work in a blue collar area and you do it old school pretty much, but it's like the best stuff we see, dude. I mean, it is really amazing what you do and how you do it. And it's old school and it's just a real deal. And everything is thought out, and there's never remix, but if there is, we screwed up something, and I'm usually getting a call saying, fucking Keats, what you do, man, on this contact circle? I get my balls busted from you on a contact circle that wasn't football shaped enough sometimes. And it makes us better, dude. I mean, I love it. That merge profile might be a little bulky at that ginger. Like, flatten that thing out. Damn it. I don't want that blanching of the tissue shown. And talk to your.
Well, what I do try. I'm interested in, it's not just me, but when I think about that too, it's everybody and, everybody you touch, that hopefully, that you have less problems too by following that. And that's kind of what I'm interested in.
Oh, I know.
But, So, that's, I've always, as you know, I've
Yep.
always had your best interest at heart,
Yes.
this whole time that we've known each other. So,
Oh, I know. Hey, you've made us better, and it's been a long time since. But no, you do. You need to keep us in check, and it's important. And you've helped us so much with, you've referred so many dentists through the years, and that's on your reputation when you say that to these guys. And and these guys that you always bring over to us are all sharp guys that want to do a good job. But you hold us to it, and you're your biggest fan, but you can be our biggest critic too, and you'll say it the way it is, and sometimes we'll get awry a little bit, but it's very few and far between. But it's only made us better. So, dude, I want to thank you so much for this, man. It's been awesome. But tell me a little, what do you do when you're not working, man? I know you like to golf and stuff. What do you like doing when you're not working?
Well, what I end up doing is spending my time in research, in sharing information with dentists on Dental Town and Facebook, and answering questions. That is what I actually spend a lot of time on. And I do play golf. I love playing golf. Once in a while we get to travel. We're going to go to Italy next month, Jan and I, and it'll be our 40th wedding anniversary. So that's going to
congratulations. That's awesome. That's so cool, dude.
One of the things I wanted to say was that as dentists, usually we have patients who break everything we put in their mouths.
Yes.
And that is one of the more exasperating aspects of dentistry. But what I want to say is that with the advent of the Bruxer and Bruxer aesthetic crowns, that's come to an end. So the patients that I have who tend to have had in the past fractured everything I've been able to give them, I am able to stop that at this point. Now, it is my opinion that no one should have a fractured crown anymore. I mean, if you need to make sure that there's a sufficient thickness of these crowns, and I always make sure that I have at least 2 millimeters clearance occlusally. Yeah. And that to me is really, really important. And when I see fracturing occurring in crowns, or when I hear about it, I know that it's because people have said to them, you only need 1 millimeter, or you need whatever, and that's just not true. Yeah. If you have the 1 millimeter, if you go with 1 millimeter, then you should have no trouble with these crowns at all, because we've all seen this. I don't know if everybody's seen the smash test, but that's a lot of fun to watch. Yeah, just hitting it with a hammer into a piece of wood. And I have not ever had Bruxer, KDZ Bruxer or Bruxer aesthetic fracture. I've just never seen that. But like I said, I make sure I have 2 millimeters of clearance, as you know, and I think that if everybody would do that, then they would not have any trouble. And it is nice to be able to look at patients and say, you're not going to be able to break this. Yeah. I'm putting this in, you're not going to be able to break it. And, in the ones, and the Bruxers, the KDZ Bruxers are a little bit less, aesthetic than the Bruxer aesthetics, obviously. Yeah. They're a little lighter, a little more opaque, as they are the polycrystalline oxide, and they don't have the cubic in them. But the people who break them really don't care about that. Yeah. They just want something that looks okay and is not going to break. Yep. I mean, that is their main concern, is that it just not break anymore. And so, we finally have something I can give them on this. And to me, this is one of the more valuable tools that I've had in a very long time.
Oh, that's so cool, dude. Freaking love that, man. Let's drop the mic on that. Oh, dude. Well, hey, Kanca, man, I know you're busy. You got to get going. You got a storm going. We're kind of going in and out on our phones here. But Dr. Kanca, I can't thank you enough for everything that you do for us, for coming on today. And if there's anything I could ever do, baby, just let me know, and I'll do anything for you, man. You've done so much for us here at Keating Dental Arts. I just can't thank you enough. I love you like a brother, man. Thank you so much. All right, baby. I'll talk to you real soon.
All right, Keith. You have a good day.
All right, baby. Thanks again. Bye-bye.
You betcha. Bye-bye.
Thanks for joining us on the Dental Up Podcast Show this week. Make sure to follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, or search the Dental Up Podcast on iTunes for our weekly feed. Don't forget to visit KeatingDentalArts.com/promo for exclusive offers. Keating Dental Arts is a full-service dental laboratory, and we're nationwide. We'd love for you to send us a case so we can show you the Keating difference. If you dig what you heard, Please leave a review on iTunes, and we'll be back next week.